Hello, everyone. It is Saturday, December 2nd, and I figured we could give Advent of Code a try. I have never participated in this in the past. It's a coding challenge that comes out every year. It's really popular, and I took a stab at the first problem yesterday, and I was able to solve it pretty easily. And I know that's how they pull you into these sort of things. So making it easy at first and then making it a lot harder. But we're only on day 2, so I figure I'd give it a try. My fear has always kind of been getting into these that I would get too obsessed with them, and then later on in December I would have no free time. So I'm just going to give it a try. We're going to see how it goes. But if you want to join the chat, we have a chat on Twitch, and I encourage you to join us there. I'm going to pull up that chat here. Oh, look, we have someone already in the chat. Let's make this a little bigger. Advent of Code, question mark? Yes. Hello, how's it going? So let's take a look at today's challenge, which is called the Cube Conundrum. You've launched in a high into atmosphere. The apex of your trajectory just barely reaches the surface of a large island floating in the sky. You gently land in a fluffy pile of leaves. It's quite cold, but you don't see much snow. An elf runs over to greet you. The elf explains that you have arrived at Snow Island. Oh, there's no snow. And apologizes for the lack of snow. There you go. He'll be happy to explain the situation, but it's a bit of a walk, so you have some time. They don't get many visitors up here. Would you like to play a game in the meantime? Did that rhyme? As you walk, the elf shows you a small bag and some cubes. Okay, so there's a bag and cubes, which are either red, green, or blue. Okay. Why add blue? They could make it red, green, and white or something more festive. Each time you play this game, he will hide a secret number of cubes of each color in the bag. And your goal is to figure out the information about the number of cubes. Okay, so this is like statistics stuff. This is a classic statistics problem, right? Where there's a bag of different things and they pull them out at random. So it's like thinking about probabilities, I think. I hope it's about that. To get information, once a bag has been loaded with cubes, the elf will reach into the bag, grab a handful of random cubes, show them to you. Random cubes, so not even a specific number of cubes. Show them to you and then put them back in the bag. He'll do this a few times per game. You play several games and record this information for each game, your puzzle input. Each game is listed with its ID number, like 11 in game 11, okay? Followed by a semicolon separated by the list of subsets of cubes. Okay, so we're going to have to parse this from the data file. For example, the record might look like this. Okay, here's an example one. So let me actually go over to VS Code. I have my directory here. I can make a day 2 directory. And let me go into that and just make a D2 example file. We're going to put this example game so we can test out on that. In game 1, 3 sets of cubes are revealed from the bag, and then we put them back again. In game 1. Okay, the first set is 3 sets of cubes are revealed from the bag. I don't get it. Oh, there's a semicolon here. Okay, so 3 blue, 4 red, 1 red, 2 green, 6 blue, 2 green. Oh, 1 red, 2 green, 6 blue, 2 green. Okay, this is going to be a lot of parsing, data parsing. And game 1, 3 sets of cubes are revealed from the bag, and then you put them back in. The first is this. Okay, the second is 1 red. All right, so now we understand this. The third set is only 2 green cubes. These guys get it? I asked yesterday If you did any development work before, like web or mobile app, and didn't hear the answer, sadly, hope you can tell me. No, I haven't done any like front end stuff or web development stuff. That hasn't really been my thing historically. The closest thing to that is building like data based web apps where you can like explore data using things like Plotly or Wave or stuff like that. Bokeh, data visualization web apps, but nothing beyond that. Good question though. The elf would first like to know which games would have been possible if the bag contained only 12 red cubes, 13 green cubes, and 14 blue cubes. In the above example, games 1, 2, and 5 would have been possible if it had been loaded with that configuration. Okay, so in game 3, at one example, he pulled out 20 red cubes, which would be more than how many red cubes he's asking it would be possible for. However, game 3 would have... Oh, yeah, so it's explaining that. Determine which games would have been possible if the bag had been loaded with this. Okay, so we can do this. What is the sum of the IDs of those games? Okay, so that's an interesting way to do it. So the thing I need to actually put in here into the solution is going to be the sum of the IDs, and IDs are just numbers like this, game 1, 2. So that's a little trick. It's not like the count of IDs, it's the sum. I wonder if that throws people off when they're doing this one. All right, so we're just going to have to parse a lot of data here. Let's get our puzzle input. Let's save this. Why is my computer so slow? Day 2 input. There we go. Hi, Subdune solved my first AOC just yesterday. What a timing for this live. Nice. Did you solve yesterday's Olympus? Thanks for following, by the way. So let's go here. We're going to rely heavily on coding assistance. I'm not too proud for that. I don't know if that's against the rules because there aren't any hard and fast rules. So let's try day 2, part 1, and make a notebook. All right. Day 2, AOC 2023. I don't usually code in VS Code, but I do like the fact that we can get some suggestions from Copilot. See, this is a text. Oh, I need to make a import a. Let's go ahead and look at this file. So this day 2 input file is like this. So the way I'd like to format this data, is it always the same number of tries? Let's see, 1, 2, 3. It looks like if we look at the semicolons, it looks like it's always the same number of tries per day. So let's go ahead and do it this way. Let's go to day 2. Okay, so let's see what Colab can do for us. Open a file with file called d2input.txt. Iterate over each line. Parse out the data splitting on colons and semicolons. Let's see what it comes up with. Could write this myself, but might as well just get some help with it. All right, so now it's printing out each one. Now we need to parse each of these. So we could probably use regex to print out each of these, but we're going to actually make a data frame. This probably isn't, I don't know if the whole point of this is to go fast, like speed wise, but this is small enough data. I don't think it matters. Let's go to, okay, so for each data, we're going to find the game, which is going to be here, and we'll locate, yeah, let's do print the data. Let's print data 1, the length of this. Make sure that they're all the same. No, so it's 3 and 6. So what I'm trying to find out is if this, okay, so it didn't actually parse this on the commas. So then what we want to do is, so when we split on this colon, there's always going to be, so this is going to be like our game, and this is going to be our results. And now we want to print the length of the results. Oh, that's not going to be the same too. So let's take the results and then split those on comma, because those are comma separated. All right, let's print the results. All right, so that's like this. Oh, it is semicolon. Okay, so we're going to split with semicolon. And now we have, for each of ours, hello, Blue Soul Live. Welcome. So now we have each run for this, and it has the results. So let's actually print these results now that it's split correctly. So it isn't, so the first one's 3 and then 6 and then 4. So if I look at this input data, this has 1, 2, 3 different runs. The next one's 1, 2, 3. Okay, so it isn't the case that it's always the same number of pulls from the bag. So that can vary. That's interesting. So then basically we want to, for each results, for each of these results, let's break out of this, and then let's actually break out of this. Break. Yeah, this won't work. Break. So the results, so now we'll have game, which is going to be like this, game 1. And we should probably just parse out the game number. So if we split this on a space and do -1, and that's going to be integer, right? Game number. So each time we iterate through, we'll pull out our game number, and then we're going to loop through each result. So for each results, we could use regex to pull this out. Use regex to extract the number before the text green. So let's do this. Right? So we have R. Extract the int value before the text green in a string if it exists using regex. So this is an example of how we would do it. Match group. So this is the digit before the value green. It's showing us our example is 5. So if we did this on our string is going to be like this, which is, let's do our example R. Let's see what we get. We get 7. Okay, so this is right. Green match. And then this is probably not the best way to do it, but okay. Green, red, and blue. Green, red, and blue. And we'll put this in each of these. Import regex. Right? Our string is actually going to be R. Then we could save this probably as a dictionary, right? Like a dictionary of these results. Let me know in chat if this makes sense. Any questions? Game number. So we have our game number. We're going to have a game number. We're basically going to append. So if I run this, green match. So this will be false. Let's go back here and see what this was. If I do group 1 and it doesn't exist, green match, red match, 618. This is for a result where it's 618 in blue. But what happens if this is one where there aren't all the colors existing? We'll figure that out later. So we'll have our, let's make a results dictionary where we will take in the game number and we're going to make a list which we will append. We'll append this list. I think this will work with int green match. Yeah, let's see if this works. But it's probably going to break when there aren't all those 3 existing. None type has no group. So how are we going to handle this? If it doesn't have that value, then we can't run an integer on it. So maybe we just remove this int and we deal with that later once we have it in a data frame or something. Right? Oh yeah, it has no group. Has no group. So if green match, so that means if we have a green one, so why don't we make just like a results, which is like green, red, and blue. And if green match, then the results of green is going to be this. If red match, it's going to be the same thing. And if blue match, we'll add blue. Otherwise, it's going to be 0. Maybe we make these -1 just to make sure that we don't mess that up. Just trying to get a solution. Not necessarily the most elegant solution, but get a solution. And then we're going to append this. The game number we're going to append with this. Let's see if this runs. And then let's see what our results dictionary looks like. It looks like this. Okay. So what I did here, an anonymous gifter gave 5 subs. Thank you so much, anonymous gifter. That's very nice of you. I appreciate it. I don't know where my sounds are. Do I not have my alerts? Sorry if I missed that. Maybe I don't get alerted for subs, but I appreciate that. That's really nice of you. All right, so we're doing Advent of Code, and what I did here was I took this day 2 input, and we basically use regex. So we iterated over this raw input data, which has a game number, and then we split on these semicolons. First, we split out the game number. Then we're iterating through each of these trials, and we're storing the number of values we got for each of those trials into a list of dictionaries. So if I do a data frame, if I make this into a data frame, because I love data frames, now it's not going to work. All arrays must be the same length. So the problem we're running into here is, yeah, the results are not always the same. So maybe what we want to do is not have a dictionary. Instead, have a results, like a list results. And have this have game number, and that's going to have our game number. All right, so now it's going to store our game number, which will repeat a bunch of times. And then we'll just append this with our results. Because now it will already have our results in it. So our results list now will look like this. Game number, the number of for each, and it's -1 if that color did not exist or was not chosen. Make this into a data frame. Advent of Code, day 2. All right, so we have 100 different runs, and yeah, so here's our results data frame. Now we need to go back and look at the question they asked. Anyone say stuff in chat? No, no one's saying anything. So I'm assuming people are following along and understand what's happening, or are just having a good time otherwise. So we made a data frame with our results data. We basically just, all we've done so far is parse this into something that's usable. And now what the problem says, let's look at the problem statement on Advent of Code day 2. Determine which games would have been possible if the bag had been loaded only with only 12 red cubes, 13 green cubes, and 14 blue cubes. So let's just try this. If that's true, we could query this where red is less than or equal to 12 and green, remember we made the -1 when it doesn't exist, so that's always going to pass this, and blue is -12. So that's going to show all the runs where this is possible. Okay, so basically, let's do it like this instead of a query. Red is less than or equal to 12. And green is less than equal to 13. Okay, so this is going to give us a Boolean true or false if it passes this test. So we're going to make a new column that says passed test if it passed the test. Now we're going to group by each game number. And it needs to always pass the tests. So we could do a mean. The mean should be 1. So if we then sort the values, ascending equals false, and run a head command on this. Let's see how many. So all the ones where it's 1 means that it completely passed the test for each of the trial runs. So basically, I don't need to do this sort value stuff. I just need to do reset index. This is going to make it into a percentage of games passed by game number. And then I'll take this df percent query passed test equals 1. And this is going to give us all of the games where it passed the tests. And then we're going to take the game numbers and then we're going to sum those. 21, 21. This, I hope, is correct. I hope this is correct. But we're going to test it here. They do this in 2 different parts, so maybe let's also print this solution. Maybe the second part's going to be harder. But let's see if this worked. Let's see if it worked. That's the right answer. We got a gold star. Yay! Party. Party, people. Let's get some lo-fi beats going to party for that. Who's excited? Can we get a clap in chat? Anyone clap? Hey, LeBron Jenkins. Did you see we solved day 1? We solved the first part. Been subscribed to YouTube and saw you live. Jump in here. Hey, thanks. Thanks for coming. Statis encoded. Clap. Nice. We got a single clap for solving this first one. We solved it in good time. I don't know what the usual amount of time it takes people to solve these things. But less than a half an hour. And that's just with getting set up and stuff. Okay, so let's do part 2. This is where I don't like VS Code's Jupyter because the keyboard shortcuts are different. But let's do part 2 now. Okay, the elf says they've stopped producing snow because we get into figuring out why the snow is not there. They just kind of breezed over that in the first one. All right. The elf says they stopped producing snow because they aren't getting any water. He isn't sure why the water stopped. However, he can show you how to get the water source to check it out for yourself. It's just up ahead. Okay, so we got to walk. As you continue your walk, the elf poses a second question. In each game you played, what is the fewest number of cubes for each color that could have been... Oh, this is... Now that we have our data in this format, if this is what I think it is, we're going to do it in 2 seconds. What's the fewest number of cubes for each color that could have been in the bag for each game? Again, consider the power of a set of cubes is equal to the number of red, green. Okay, so maybe let's read this. As you continue, again, consider the games from earlier. In game 1, the game would have been played with as few as 4 red. So it's basically the maximum value that it sees. 2 green and 6 blue cubes. If any other color had been 1 fewer cube, the game would have been impossible. Game 2 with 1 red. I think I get it, so I'm not going to read all that. The power of a set of cubes is equal to the numbers of red, green, and blue cubes multiplied together. The power of the minimum set of cubes in game 1 is 48. So, okay, the power is multiplying that minimum value together. And then we add up all those. What is the power of the sets? Okay, so that's a little bit tricky because they're making us do the power for some reason. So let's just take... So this is basically find the minimum number for each cube. Super easy in Python and Pandas now that we have this done. This is going to be Good. This is going to be good. Okay, so if we group by the game number now, and we take red, green, and blue, and we take the maximum number. Yeah, we take the maximum number of each color. Then that's the minimum possible for each of those runs. So then we take df max. And what does it want us to do? It wants us to take the red. I believe this is how the power equation works. Times green times blue. And this is our power. Look, 3 lines of code it's going to take us if this works. Should probably not get too ahead of myself here. And then we sum this, right? Let's just double check that's what it's asking for. The power is the numbers multiplied together. That's what we just did here. Multiplied them. And then what's the sum of those? Okay, we got it. 3 lines of code for this. Let's call it solution. Part 2 solution. Boom, we're done. Hey, if you're watching over in YouTube and you want to come over to Twitch, that's great. So anyone out there also do admin of code? Anyone else in the chat? Clap, clap. Clap, calp. We got some other clappers. Guys, we're done. Can I see the code? Okay, yeah. So let's talk through this code just a little bit. Again, not the prettiest code, but we finished this pretty quickly. All right, data input is like this. And first thing I wanted to do was parse this data. And this is my wheelhouse, right? Because working with data in Python, especially small data like this, it's like parsing and using pandas data frames. So I wanted to parse out for each game, basically make this stored as the game number, then parse out each of the runs. I'm going to call them runs. Everything in between or separated by a semicolon into runs. And then I wanted to count the number of each color per run. So that's what we did here. We basically opened up this file, then we went through each line of the file, and then we applied this operation. So this could be like its own function. This could be like process line, and it takes in the line and it returns result. So if I wanted to clean this, yeah, I don't want to do this because we're appending that list multiple times in each of those runs. But this is basically its own processing of each line. Here's where we split on the colon. So the left of this is the game. The right of it is the result. So we basically just splitting on this colon. Then we're converting the game number into an integer. So we basically just split on a space here and take this number part and make it an integer. And then we start working on the right side. So the right side, we have to split on semicolons first, and then we iterate through each of these chunks. And we use regex to find the words green, red, or blue and extract out the integer before. This whole time, I'm just saving a list of each line, basically. So then that list looks like this. The list looks like this. Oh yeah. Also, if it doesn't find a match for the color, then we're going to default it to -1, just so it's not accidentally forgotten. So you can see here, game number 1 has been parsed into this 7, 14, 5, which if we look at this, it's 7, 14, 5, 8, 4, 6. Wait, this only has 8 red, 4 green, right? So this should be 8 red, 4 green, and -1 blue. That's just our placeholder. I could have made this nan value too, like a numpy, not a number, but -1 seemed to work. Then we convert this list into a data frame. Once you have a data frame, then everything else is so simple because all they're asking us to do is basically do some simple math checks on this. So we needed to find out if it would pass this test of there being at least no more than 12 red cubes, 13 or 14, 13 green or 14 blue. And we just basically ran this test on each of the runs. And then we needed to ensure that for each of the game numbers, all of them passed. So you could see that like for game number 1, this second trial passed, but the other 2 failed. So that game failed our test. And then the kind of tricky part I thought was that once you find that you don't just sum up the number, like if we wanted to just take the games, like the length of this, you would think they were just trying to see how many of the 100 passed that test, which would be 43. But that's not what the problem asked for. The problem asked us to then take these game numbers, which are integers, and sum them. And then the second part was very easy once we had this data frame. We basically needed to oh shoot. Did I mess things up? Oh no, it really was this 3 lines of code. I've threw myself off thinking that part 2 actually took more than these 3 lines of code, but that's all it took. So we basically needed to find the maximum value for each of the colors in each game. And I guess we were lucky because for each game, if that maximum value was -1, that could have been true. So I think I just got lucky that that case never occurred. Like one of the colors always exists in each of the trials is what I guess that means. And then we computed this power and summed it. Hope that makes sense. Hello, Rob. Love your content. Xcode, subscribe with Prime. Subscribe for 12 months. Thank you, Xcode. 12 months. Wow. Any plans for the next PogChamps? We'll have to wait and see. I have no plans for it, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to happen. Hi, was totally mad. You can't see my messages on YouTube. Sorry about that. Yeah, I try to put it into the YouTube comments that you need to come here on Twitch to chat. We're trying to get chat all in one location. Yes, AOC was very fun. That was fun. I have a question. Use -1 for the default value. Value for no cubes pulled. There were a game of only 2 colors. Yes. So Kavach caught what I just said. So I caught that afterwards also. Yeah, how would this work? Yeah, if I defaulted this to 0, then I think this would have worked. Because essentially the maximum count is 0. Yeah, so if there were runs where it just by chance, and that could have happened, that no one of these colors were chosen, then the maximum value for that should be 0, not -1. So really I should change, basically if I change this to 0, we should be good to go. It shouldn't change this, which is 2101. And it shouldn't change this, which is 4826. Yeah, it's the same number. We can also make this an integer. But that was a good point. Okay, Advent of Code is fun. How does it work with the leaderboard? Like, I think it depends on how quickly you solve it, right? Below is the Advent of Code overall leaderboard. These are the 100 users with the highest total score. Getting a star first is worth 100 points. Second is 99. Okay, so you need to be one of the first 100. So you basically need to be up at midnight every night to do well on this. That's fun, but there's no way I could keep up with that. Too disruptive. Rob, why instead of -1, why not checking for none? The leaderboard is all speed. Oh yeah. You're right. Yeah, I just did -1 because it's the first thing that came to mind. If you were watching when I did it, when I was solving it, I first did 0, and then I was worried about it being 0 throwing us off somewhere. So I figured -1 would make it more obvious when I eventually had a bug somewhere. But then we didn't get a bug, so we just got lucky like that. Can you accept my LinkedIn requests? And would you ever step into QML, or have you already? No, I haven't stepped into QML. I'll try to remember to do your LinkedIn request. I don't know. I get a lot of get overwhelmed with having a lot of those requests on LinkedIn. I don't click them anymore because there's a lot that come in, and I know there's like you can follow people on LinkedIn now and stuff. I don't know. I'm not super active on LinkedIn, so I apologize. I was checking. Yes, I was trying to advise the none, but you couldn't see my message. But great job. Thanks. Yeah. So how many people in the chat have solved the Advent of Code already, the first two? So I scored, it looked like I scored both similar. Oh, and I finished it at the same time of the day. Wow, this is, I guess, my Advent of Code time. Yeah. So I think we are done here. We did it. Less than an hour. Yeah, 45 minutes in and we finished it. This is the power of using Python because it's such easy to prototype and to write stuff out and check it as you code. That's also the downside of it because it's not as structured. But for solving a problem like this, where speed was not the biggest issue, it was very good. Is this like a contest to flex who's a better at Python? So this is Advent of Code. It's just a coding problem each day in December, or I guess until Christmas. And I've never done it before, and it has no requirement for what programming language you use. It just so people will solve these problems in all different types of languages. And I've heard that as it gets later in the competition, speed is really an issue, especially with the time that your code takes to run. So in those cases, Python may not do well. But at least here in the first problems where the data was relatively small and it wasn't like an optimization problem, we're good to go. For the last year, I was top 10. Ooh, Poison Mouse, nice work. What programming language did you code in? Oh, so just for the last day in Python? Here it doesn't matter the language speed. Do you use another programming language when you need to be faster? I don't. So a lot of stuff with Python, they're just tricks to make it run faster, like basically using libraries which are written in C, and Python's just the interface to get to it. And then other tricks are like running things on your GPU if you're running training models and stuff. All right, so we finished it. I'm going to go ahead. Let's do a raid. Let's raid Primogen. Try to see if he's going to give us some shout out, because, 1.6 thousand people are watching him do Advent code. All right. Thanks everyone for hanging out today. It was a lot of fun. Everyone in Twitch, we're doing a raid. Everyone on YouTube, I'll see you next time. That was fun. Bye.